Welcome to the Scanner Files. Tonight we're diving into something the internet will not let go of. Picture this, you're scrolling late at night and a clip appears on your screen. It comes from the César Awards in Paris, March 2026. Jim Carrey walks onto the stage to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. At first, everything looks normal. The audience applauds, cameras flash, but within minutes the internet starts reacting. People begin pointing out small details. His hair looks different. His skin looks different. People say he doesn't look the same anymore. The comments appear quickly. That's not him. Clone. Something feels off. One post gets millions of views in hours. Another says, look closely at the eyes, they don't match the old videos. And just like that, the theory spreads across the internet again. The Jim Carrey clone theory. To understand why this rumor returned, we need to look back. Because the idea that something strange is happening with Jim Carrey did not begin this year. For many people online, the story started almost a decade ago. Around 2017 and 2018, videos of Carrey began spreading across social media. In these clips, he sounded very different from the energetic comedian many people remembered. Instead of jokes, he spoke about philosophy. He talked about identity. He talked about losing the idea of the self. In one interview, he said something that confused many viewers. He explained that the person people call Jim Carrey might only be a character. He said that who we think we are may only be a story we tell ourselves. For some people watching the interview, these words sounded deep and thoughtful. But for others, they sounded strange. They started asking questions. Why had he changed so much? Why did he speak so differently now? Why did his personality seem calmer and more distant? Those questions slowly turned into theories. Internet users began comparing older videos of Jim Carrey with more recent appearances. They paused frames. They zoomed in on his face. They compared his jawline, his smile, even the way he blinked. Some people said they noticed differences. Others said it was only aging. But the discussion continued. And once an idea appears online, it rarely disappears completely. It waits. It stays in forums, in comment sections, and in small corners of the internet. Then one day, something happens that brings the idea back again. For the Jim Carrey theory, that moment may have been the César Awards in Paris. Because when that clip appeared online, people who already believed the theory felt they had new proof. But this story is not only about one actor. It connects to a much larger pattern that has existed on the internet for many years. The idea that famous people are secretly replaced by doubles or clones. You may have heard some of these stories before. One of the most famous examples involves Paul McCartney from the Beatles. According to a long-running conspiracy theory, the real Paul McCartney died in the 1960s and was replaced by a look-alike. Supporters of the theory claim that hidden clues appear in Beatles songs and album covers. Most historians say the story has no evidence, but the theory still circulates today. Another famous example involves the singer Avril Lavigne. Some internet users claim she was replaced by a double named Melissa many years ago. They compare photographs and lyrics searching for clues. Again, most experts say there is no proof. But the theory continues to spread online. These stories reveal something interesting about the internet. Once people begin looking for differences, they almost always find them. Lighting changes, cameras change, faces change with age. But when people expect to see something strange, every small difference can begin to look like evidence. That is how many internet mysteries begin. A single video. A few unusual details, then thousands of comments repeating the same question. Could this be something more? And that brings us back to the video from Paris. Because for people who already believe the theory, that moment looked like confirmation. But before we decide what it means, we need to examine the evidence more closely. In the next part, we will look at the interviews and public appearances that first made people believe something about Jim Carrey had changed. Some of those moments are strange, and some of them help turn a rumor into a full internet conspiracy. Now we go back to the moment many people say started the mystery. Around 2017, a video begins spreading across the internet. It comes from New York Fashion Week. A reporter approaches Jim Carrey on the red carpet. She asks a normal question about the event, but Carrey does not answer the way most celebrities do. Instead, he begins walking in circles around the reporter. Then he says something unexpected. He explains that none of the event has meaning. He says there are no icons, no personalities, no real identity, just energy moving through the world. The interview lasts less than 2 minutes, but the clip spreads across the internet very quickly. Some people find the moment funny, others find it uncomfortable, and some people watching the clip begin to ask a different question. Why does he seem so different from the Jim Carrey they remember? For many fans, the actor they grew up watching was loud, energetic, and unpredictable in a playful way. In movies like Ace Ventura and The Mask, he moved like a cartoon character. His face stretched into wild expressions. His voice jumped from whisper to scream in seconds. But the man in the interview looks calmer, slower. His words sound serious and philosophical. And this contrast becomes the center of many online discussions. People begin posting older clips next to newer ones. They compare interviews from the 1990s with interviews from the 2010s. They study the way he talks. They study the way he moves. Some viewers say this is normal. After all, people change as they grow older. A person in their 20s is rarely the same as the person they become in their 50s. Life experiences can reshape anyone. But others watching the clips believe something more unusual may have happened. They say the difference is too large, too sudden, too strange. That is when the idea of a replacement begins appearing in comment sections. At first, the suggestion seems like a joke. Someone writes, "That's not Jim Carrey, they replaced him." Another user replies with a laughing emoji, but the joke keeps returning. And over time, the comments become more serious. Some people say Hollywood has used doubles for years. They point out that actors often use stunt performers in dangerous scenes. Others say technology could make it easy to replace a public figure without anyone noticing. These ideas spread slowly, but they begin building a community of people who believe something unusual may be happening. Around the same time, Jim Carrey's personal life also becomes part of the discussion. Over the years, he has spoken openly about difficult experiences, including periods of depression and personal loss. In interviews, he sometimes describes feeling disconnected from the character the public calls Jim Carrey. He says that fame created a version of himself that no longer feels real. For people who enjoy philosophy, these ideas sound thoughtful. But for people who already suspect something strange, the statements sound like hidden clues. They begin repeating certain quotes online. One quote spreads widely. In it, Carrey explains that the public image of Jim Carrey is only a role he once played. To some listeners, the message is simple. The actor is reflecting on identity and fame. But to conspiracy forums, the quote becomes evidence that the real Jim Carrey disappeared long ago. As these discussions grow, internet users begin creating comparison images. They place photos from different years side by side. One image shows Carrey during the height of his movie career in the 1990s. The other shows him in a more recent appearance. Lines are drawn across the pictures. Circles highlight parts of his face. The jaw, the eyebrows, the shape of the smile. Supporters of the theory say the differences prove something changed. Skeptics say the comparisons ignore obvious factors like aging, lighting, and camera angles. But once images like these appear online, they travel quickly. A single comparison picture can reach thousands of people within hours, and each new viewer becomes another potential investigator. Soon, entire threads appear on Reddit and other forums dedicated to analyzing celebrity replacement theories. Some posts are long and detailed. They list dates, interviews, and photographs. Others are short and emotional. "Something about him feels wrong," one user writes. Another says, "I watched his movies growing up. That person on stage now is not the same." Whether these statements are based on evidence or simply personal impressions, they add energy to the story. Because in the world of internet mysteries, belief spreads faster than proof. Then something else begins fueling the discussion. Modern technology. In recent years, artificial intelligence has made it possible to create extremely realistic digital faces. Deepfake videos can place a person's face onto another body with surprising accuracy. Voice software can imitate a person's speech patterns. Suddenly, the idea that someone could impersonate a celebrity no longer seems impossible. Even people who do not believe the clone theory start wondering how far technology could go. Could a digital double appear in a video without anyone noticing? Could a public figure be replaced in certain appearances by someone who looks almost identical? Most experts say such scenarios would be extremely difficult to hide, but the very existence of these technologies makes the conversation more complicated. And this is the environment in which the César Awards video appears. Years of rumors already exist. Thousands of comparison images are circulating online. Communities of people are watching closely for anything unusual. So when Carrey walks on stage in Paris with longer hair and a different style, many viewers are already prepared to see something strange. They pause the video. They zoom in on the eyes. They slow down the footage frame by frame. Within hours, dozens of analysis videos appear across social media. Each one tries to answer the same question. Is this really the same Jim Carrey people remember? And that question leads us to the next part of the investigation. Because the internet did not stop at analyzing the awards video. Soon, a completely new detail appeared online that pushed the theory even further. A detail involving an artist, a mask, and the possibility that someone could look exactly like Jim Carrey. At first, the discussion about the awards video stays mostly inside online forums and social media threads. People share screenshots. They compare old interviews with the new footage from Paris. Some viewers say the difference is obvious. Others say there is nothing unusual at all. But then something happens that adds fuel to the story. A few days after the awards ceremony, images begin circulating online from an artist known for extremely realistic transformations. His name is Alexis Stone. Stone is a performance artist famous for creating hyper-realistic prosthetic masks that allow him to look almost identical to celebrities. In the past, he has transformed himself into public figures like Madonna, Adele, and Leonardo DiCaprio. His work is so detailed that people sometimes believe they are looking at the real person. When Stone posts new photos online showing a mask that looks almost exactly like Jim Carrey, the internet reacts immediately. The images show the artist wearing a prosthetic face with Carrey's features. The hairline, the eyes, the smile, everything appears extremely convincing. For many people who were already discussing the clone theory, these images seem like confirmation that something unusual could be happening. Comments begin appearing under the photos. So anyone can become Jim Carrey now? One user asks. Another writes, maybe the person at the awards was an impersonator. Others say the mask proves how easy it would be for someone to appear in public pretending to be a celebrity. Of course, professional makeup artists have been creating realistic prosthetics in Hollywood for decades. Movies often require actors to transform into completely different characters. Special effects teams use silicone masks, facial prosthetics, and digital touch-ups to create convincing illusions. But the Alexis Stone photos arrive at exactly the moment when people online are already searching for clues. The timing makes the images spread quickly. Soon videos appear showing the transformation process behind these masks. Viewers watch as an artist slowly applies layers of silicone, makeup, and hair pieces to a performer's face. Within hours, thousands of people share these clips across social media. The message becomes simple. If a makeup artist can create a face that realistic, could someone appear in public pretending to be a celebrity? At the same time, another person unexpectedly becomes part of the conversation. A comedian named Heather Shaw begins trending online because many people say she resembles Jim Carrey.
It's everything. It's everything, yeah. I've had it since I was a kid, so.
Since you were a kid?
Yeah, I've always had this face, you know, I was born with it.
Yeah.
It's just that. And then you can always add dramatics, the head cut.
The head cut.
There. You know? How you doing?
Shaw has built a following on social media for her comedy sketches and impressions. Her facial expressions and comedic style sometimes remind viewers of Carrey's early performances. As the clone theory spreads again, some people begin asking if Shaw might somehow be involved in the story. The speculation grows quickly enough that Shaw eventually addresses the rumors directly.
Everyone keeps tagging me saying that I'm his clone. An airport in New York. If I was his clone, I'd be in a mansion somewhere.
She explains that she has nothing to do with the awards event and that she is not impersonating Jim Carrey in any way. For many observers, her response seems clear and straightforward. But by this point, the internet discussion has already taken on a life of its own. That is one of the strange patterns behind many online mysteries. Once a theory begins spreading widely, every new piece of information becomes part of the narrative. Even explanations sometimes strengthen the speculation. People who already believe the theory interpret each new statement as further proof that something is being hidden. As days pass, the story moves beyond the original awards clip. Comment sections begin filling with larger conspiracy ideas. Some posts claim Hollywood has secretly replaced celebrities for years. Others connect the theory to older internet rumors involving secret programs or advanced technology. Many of these claims appear without evidence, but they spread quickly because they tap into a larger fear: the idea that powerful systems could manipulate reality without the public noticing. Then another twist appears. A short statement from Jim Carrey begins circulating in response to the rumors. In the message, he jokes about the theory, saying that if he really is a clone, the original version should be responsible for paying his bills. The comment sounds like classic Jim Carrey humor, playful and absurd. Many people laugh and move on. But in conspiracy circles, the joke creates a different reaction. Some users argue that the humor is a way to avoid answering the question seriously. Others claim that a public figure involved in a secret program would naturally deny it in a joking way. Again, the pattern repeats. The more people talk about the theory, the more difficult it becomes to separate speculation from reality. At this point, the conversation online splits into two groups. One side sees the story as an example of how the internet can transform ordinary moments into elaborate conspiracies. They say the differences people notice in Carrey's appearance are simply the result of aging, lighting, or changes in style. The other side believes something unusual may actually be happening. They argue that too many details seem strange to ignore. To understand why theories like this gain so much attention, we need to step back and look at the psychology behind them. Because the Jim Carrey clone theory is not just about one actor or one award ceremony. It reflects a much larger pattern in how people interpret information in the digital age. In the next part of the investigation, we will explore why the human mind is drawn to patterns and mysteries, why people sometimes see connections that may not actually exist, and how the internet can amplify those patterns until a rumor begins to feel like a real investigation. To understand why a story like this spreads so quickly, we have to look at how the human mind works. People are very good at recognizing patterns. In fact, our brains are designed to search for them.
Humans are extraordinary at pattern recognition. We recognize patterns when there aren't any there at all. And how do I know? Because you can lay down dots at random on a page with a random number generator. And then at some point you say, what do you see? Oh, I see a face, or I see a cliff, or I see a this. Of all the things on Mars, there are ridges. Now, two of the ridges are at a right angle. If you have enough ridges, two of them are going to end up at a right angle at some point.
This ability helped humans survive for thousands of years. Seeing patterns in nature helped people predict danger, track animals, and understand their environment. But that same ability can also create confusion. Sometimes the brain sees patterns even when they are not really there. Psychologists call this pattern recognition. When people already believe something unusual might be happening, they begin looking for signs that confirm it. A small change in appearance can suddenly feel important. A pause in an interview can feel suspicious. Even a joke can sound like a hidden message. Once the idea takes hold, every new detail becomes another possible clue. The internet makes this process even stronger. Millions of people can watch the same video and share their interpretations instantly. A single frame of footage can be analyzed by thousands of viewers. Someone notices the lighting in one shot. Another person compares two photos taken years apart. Another user slows the video down and studies facial movements. Within hours, dozens of different theories appear. Each one tries to explain the same moment. But when many people repeat the same idea, it can begin to feel like proof. That is one of the most powerful effects of online discussion. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity can create the feeling that something must be true. At the same time, technology has made reality harder to verify. Deepfake videos can now create convincing images of people saying things they never said. Artificial intelligence can generate voices that sound almost identical to real ones. Digital editing tools can change the appearance of a person in subtle ways. Because these technologies exist, some people begin to question everything they see online. If images can be manipulated, how can anyone be sure what is real? That uncertainty creates the perfect environment for theories like the Jim Carrey clone story. A video appears. People notice small differences. Technology shows that realistic illusions are possible. And suddenly the explanation that once seemed impossible begins to feel plausible to some viewers. But when investigators look at the actual evidence behind the story, the situation appears much simpler. Jim Carrey's publicist confirmed that the actor attended the César Awards himself. The event organizers say the appearance had been planned for months. Photographs from the ceremony show him interacting with other guests, including family members and colleagues. No one present at the event reported anything unusual. The changes people notice in his appearance can also be explained in ordinary ways. Lighting at red carpet events often changes the way skin looks on camera. Hairstyles can alter how a person's face appears. Aging naturally changes facial features over time. And a person's personality can evolve as they grow older and experience different stages of life. In other words, many experts say the mystery may not be a mystery at all. It may simply be a combination of internet speculation, selective comparisons, and the natural changes that happen to every human being. But even when explanations exist, the story itself continues to live online. That is another powerful feature of internet culture. Once a theory becomes popular, it rarely disappears completely. New videos appear. New comparisons are made. Old rumors return with new interpretations. And that brings us back to the moment that started this investigation. The clip from the César Awards in Paris. For some viewers, it is just another public appearance by a famous actor. For others, it remains a strange moment that raises questions they cannot easily answer. So, where does that leave us? We have scanned the timeline, we have looked at the videos, we have followed the rumors across the internet, and we have compared those rumors with the official explanations. Some parts of the story are clear, other parts remain open to interpretation, and like many internet mysteries, the final answer may depend on how each viewer interprets the evidence. So now the question turns to you. When you watch the video from Paris, what do you see? A normal public appearance? A man who has simply changed with time? Or something that feels slightly different? Tell us what you think. This has been the Scanner Files, scanning the world for anomalies. And sometimes the biggest mystery is not the story itself.
Merci de faire une ovation à l'un des plus grands acteurs du monde, Monsieur Jim Carrey!
But why we want to believe it. Good night.